So let's summarize the Maimer. Again, it's a difficult Maimer, and we can say the words, but to understand this is another matter. But let's try a little bit. So the summary so far. First question was that the Pashut inference of the Pasuk, VaYaancha, VaYarivecha, Viaכילך Samon, Moishe is telling the Yidden that the Eibishter afflicted you and made you hunger, and he fed you the mon. It's all one hemshech, meaning to say that the mashmois is that somehow the mon itself, it's all part of it. The affliction and the hunger is all part of the consuming, the eating of the man. The question is, how is it eating the manna induces a riven, a hunger? That was the first question. So the pasuk also went on to say that he did so in order to teach you, God wanted to teach you and show you that man does not live by bread alone, but al kol moitzi pi Hashem yichyu, all that issues forth from his mouth. So it seems, at least in one sense, the question here is that not on bread alone, but man is also bread. So how are we being conveyed this message when they were given bread? Okay, it's not lachem min haaretz, lachem min haaretz. So why would this teach us this? Particularly, why would the manna convey this message and ordinary bread does not? That seems to be the question. What is, finally, the third question, what is meant by moitzi pi Hashem, that what comes out from the mouth of God, by that man lives, not by bread alone. What is meant by that? So to understand this, he first introduced that there's two ways of nourishment. There's a nourishment that can happen, like in the case of Eliyahu HaNavi, who went 40 days without eating. That's because in his journey, fleeing from Izevel, in his journey to HaCherev, Mount Sinai, as it ends up, in the cleft of a rock there, and that's the famous Hashem's voice is not in the storm and not in the wind, but this Kol Mamadaka, the still small voice. That's the whole story there, where that extraordinary revelation happens to him. It's after 40 days of traveling, but then, not then, the story there is that he eats. Miraculously, he's famished, he's starving, and miraculously water and like bread cakes appear, and Hashem commands him to eat, for you will not have food. You'll need the strength for the long journey ahead of you, and this food sustains him for 40 days. The manna is clearly not this way. The manna fell every day, an allotted portion for that day. And one was forbidden to leave over manna for the next day. And if one did, it spoiled. Why is this so? In summary, why must the manna be dvar yoim b'yoimei? Every day it's a allotted portion. To understand this, and in other words, another question that was added to our list of questions, he brought down the Zohar. And this, it's all based on the Zohar. So the Zohar says like this: on the pasuk that no one should leave over for the next day. So Rabbi Huda in the Zohar says, every day of the week is blessed from that supernal day, which is Shabbos. And every day gives, therefore, from that bracha that it received from Shabbos. And that's what Moishe meant when he said, do not leave over from one day to the other. What is the reason? Moishe was saying one day should not give or lend even to the other day. That's what the Zohar says. That's the meaning of Dvar Yom B'Yomai, that each day stands on its own and one day shouldn't give to the other. Now the question is, the Zohar seems to imply that the reason why each day stands on its own is because they all receive from Shabbos. What's one got to do with the other? Because each of the 6 days receive from Shabbos, this is the whole Maimon really is explaining this Nakuda, which we'll try and understand. So, because every day receives from Shabbos, that's why Al Yosef Mimeno, don't leave over. There's no giving, there's no lending, there's no interplay between one day and the other, and each day is a hashpah on its own. That's what this Maimon is out to explain. Now, the Maimon doesn't say what I'm going to say now, but we might add that l'chura, this is a chsoren. Because in Kedusha, achdus, oneness. Because Kedusha is all an expression of the one God. So we would expect that clearly the Zohar is saying that Shabbos, obviously Shabbos is the loftiest day, the sacred day of the week. And because each day gets from Shabbos, therefore they cannot integrate. Therefore there isn't unity. Therefore each one stands on its own. Doesn't spell out the question, but that seems to be implied in the question as well. Now, just a heads up of where this is going. The answer in words, let's get the words straight. Just get, what's going to be the answer. Then understanding is another matter. But even to understand what he's saying is not that clear. It seems, however, that what's following and what he develops over the next few ICs is that when there is a hashpah atzmi, these are words, hashpah atzmi, the etzem is being conveyed. The etzem in contrast to what? The etzem in contrast to revelations or manifestations from the essence. Oir, giluyim. So when the essence is conveyed, this is the key here, because the mana is an essential expression of godliness. It's rooted in atik, as we said yesterday. Atik means it's the deepest essential level of the divine. It's the I am of God. Again, tainug, delight, is not in something else. Or rephrase that. Will, you can want something, not for the thing itself, but what it will lead to. Tainug means your relationship with that you are desiring and delighting in is not as a means for an end, but that's you. That's where you express yourself, that this talks to me and expresses me. And I find delight, therefore, in it. You find delight in something, friends. You find tainug in something which expresses the unique you. That's what tainug is. Again, the rotzen, you can want something that doesn't express you at all. You want it because of some agenda that will lead to, in the end, some goal. So, tainug is an inyan atzmi. The rotzen is already oir. Oir means light, projection, not an expression of the essential self, but it's a projection of self. As we said, you can want something because it will lead to something else. That's all part of what the nature of Oir. Oir is a projection, a journey away from the self in order to get someone, in order to illuminate some place, in order to convey a message, whatever the case may be. I'm saying Oir is revelation. Revelation implies otherness. It's away from self. You're connecting to something other. That's Oir. Tainug is self. Tainug is the expression of self. When a person's experiencing tainug, he is in a very deep inward, it's a very deep inward experience. Tainug is this way, Oir and Rotzen and everything which follows after that is that way. When you understand something that's Seichel, below Rotzen, that's clearly you're understanding something outside of you, entertaining something other than you. You're trying to understand it. And certainly Midas, a relationship with the other, love of it, want to be close, you want to be far away. It's very clearly bound up and defined by the other. Emotions are all about clear relationship with the other, but so is Seichel. Although Seichel is happening inside one's head, but Seichel is about thinking about the world, thinking about things and trying to understand them. And the Rotzen is also, I want something. Tainug is inward. That's where we arrived. That is, I'm delighting in this because it expresses me. So the key to understanding why the manna must happen every day, and we're going to try and unravel this. I'm not going to pretend I understand this fully, for sure not, but even clearly. But we'll try, and maybe with God's help, as I'm trying to explain it to you, I will explain it and understand it myself. I'm hoping, I'm banking on that by teaching it, I'll come to understand it. So thank you. But the Maimon is saying, this is what it's all rests upon. This is the whole dynamic, the whole model, the whole formula, that the distinction between the hamshacha, the drawing down of the etzem, in contrast to the oir, revelation of God, God's will, God's seichel, God's whatever, in contrast to tainug, the Eibishter himself. Okay, that's this distinction. This whole thing rests on that. Now, what did we learn? We learned that manna, the man, what is it? Man is rooted in tainug, the Eibishter's tainug. Gimel reishin the atik. Gimel reishin means chachma bin das, the highest levels of atik. The Zohar calls it, what's the source of the manna? Here in this world, it comes from Tola, it drips, or Tola, dew. Tola the Bedulcha, crystal dew. That's the Lashon the Pasuk describes the manna as Ke'ein habdoilach, like crystal. That's how it's described. It's implying a very translucent entity. The notif, I'm sorry, Tola the Bedulcha, it is dew, crystal dew. These are just words. In the Zohar, the notif which drip, me'atika from atik. What we need to know is that manna is rooted in atik, and what is, and not just atik, but gimel reishin, the pnimius atik, where the eye of God resides. Now that, of course, is all bound up within this Ava Kadosh Baruch Hu, God's chosen desire. His tainug is to have a relationship with us. That's the whole essence of it all. And the manna expresses that. The manna is an expression of the essence of Elikus, as opposed to Ishtalshalus, which is Oir. Ishtalshalus is all an agenda. It's a whole complex revelation of worlds and levels in order to create a world. And the world itself is not an end in of itself, in order to come here to Torah mitzvahs, and we make this world a dira, where Hashem can reveal his tainug with us. Again, so what are we talking about here? What's the Maimon going to develop? What's unique about the man is that it's a revelation of the Eibishter's tainug. That's its source. And therefore, we learned yesterday, this can't be nimshach in Ishtalshalus. And Atzilus is not a keli. Ishtalshalus is all about oir, is all about agenda. And we're talking etzem here. We're talking about the essential eye of Hashem, Hashem's tainug. And Ishtalshalus is all a whole process of one level, devolving, interlinking, leading to the other. Ishtalshalis is about performance, and Tainug is about being. So he said, let's look inside the words again. It's not v'inyan bazer. It's not again. We're on the Ois Dalet, 4 lines down from, just below the number 15. Everybody has it? Guys, no one is showing your faces. It's like I'm talking to name tags here. Oh, well, that's kind of a face. It's a frozen face. Chevre, are you there? Are you with me? Yeah. David, you have the place.
I have the place, Rabbi.
Yeah?
Have the place.
You have the text? You all have the text, yes? Okay, you have the text, the number 15. I use Dalet, yeah, just below that. So we just said this when we run inside down the text. Man is crystal dew, the notif me'atika that drips from Atik. Cryptic words of the Zohar, which means that the manna, physical manna down here, invested in it is, and what's its source? It's the inner delight of Hashem, the Gimel Reishin, the 3 heads, literally the Atik, which means Chacham bin Adas, the Pnimius of Atik. Now, how was it drawn out into the world, the man? Until it manifested as physical man, this crystal, that's what it looked like, small crystals here in this world. It came down through the 6 midas. But a big caveat, however, that can't really happen. Because the 6 midas of Atzilus are part of the system, the Oir. And we were talking Yin Atzmi. And Yin Atzmi can't be drawn, as it were, in and confined to and drawn. They're not a keli. The journey itself, quite simply, in simple language, the journey is one experience, and the final destination of delight is another. And there's no delight in the journey, friends. You do it, you got to do it. You don't delight in your work. No one's compelling you, even though you want to work. You want to work. There's no gun to your head. You're not delighting in it. Some people do delight in the work, and Ashrei Chelkom, if you have a kind of job that you actually delight in, it's an end in itself. You're not working in order to. But for most of us, all the things that we do, most of the things we do in our life, that's all a means for an end. And then we finally get it. We delight. And this moment is everything. It's not about the next moment. That's a Tainug moment. Most of our life is not that. Hopefully. Let me say hopefully, because we're not eating because that's the end in of itself, enjoying the eating. Because we need to live. Okay. It's not so terrible. I guess enjoy it along the way, but if that becomes the end all. Anyway, I digress. What do we say? So the 6 midas, this is part of the journey. This is not the Tainug. That's the building blocks of creation, 6 days of creation. God creating, sustaining, and governing creation. The Tainug kicks in. The Tainug is only, friends, when you and I invite God into our life. Here in Elam Hazah, that's where he has his Tainug. He doesn't have any Tainug per se in Ishtalshalos. It's a means. Again, like work and the things that we do, and sleeping, eating, most of the things that we do is in order to. Which then comes the big question for most people, like, so when are you really there? Mindfulness, that's what I guess it's meant to be, is like to be in the moment as an end for itself. That's Tainug, if it's real. So the 6 midas are not, because that's all the creative process. So that's Omnam. The fact is, he says that the Hamshacha of the manna is through the 6 midas. That's the 6 days of the week. Every day manna fell. And moreover, as we learned before, surprisingly, You can't give from one day to the other. There's no integration. There's no sharing. There's no giving. There's no borrowing. Every day gets the manna. Well, how did this happen? How could the 6 midas of Ishtalshalos possibly be the vehicle for manna rooted in Tainug? Answer. Now comes the question. Since the manna is rooted in Hashem's Pnimis Diketainug, and friends, in black and white simple language, Hashem has no interest whatsoever in Ishtalshalos per se. It's all a means for an end. Don't it mean that it's nimshach through the 6 midas? Explain that. So even though the Shoyrish is Pnimis Ha'ineg, Tainug is not given. You can have a little bit of enjoyment in your work, friends, but it can't be really, you can't have, for most people, again, you're not invested. This isn't an end in itself. You can't put your tainug into this moment because you're only doing it because of some result. That's what he means. Maybe a little bit there can be, but put that aside. Overall, the tainug cannot be expressed. It can't happen. So what we just said a moment ago, that it's the manna which is rooted in tainug is drawn into the world through the 6 midas. How does that happen? Now I understand a little bit what this means. We said yesterday, like saying the same thing. What's the v'gam? It's one thing. Maybe put it in these eyes. It's one thing that tainug just is not present. I'm not in having tainug in the work, the means to the end. That's one thing. And then he says, it's Zod Atzilus, as lofty as it is, cannot open up to experience this tainug. Okay, yesh lahayich, but put that aside. I'll put that aside. There's 2 sides to the point. We get the point, I think, right? The point is that the means is not tainug. Tainug is at the end of the road. So how is it that the means, which is the Ishtalshalos, creation, the 6 midas of Atzilus, mamshich, the manna comes down to the world through them? How are they a kelim? Answer, we're starting to unravel, resolve the riddle about Shabbos and Achinyin and Nasa b'Yom Shabbos. Taka true. Mitzad Ishtalshalos is not a keli for the Eibishter's tainug. Shabbos is different. Put into simple language and the pshat over here, because Shabbos is a foretaste, friends, of the final destination of the world being a dira and the Eibishter revealed here and delighting in us and us delighting in God. Yom Shekuli Shabbos, Pnimis HaTainug. Every Shabbos is a foretaste of that. And so therefore, in every Shabbos explained the length in Kabbalah and Chassidus, all of Ishtalshalos ascends. By Chula Shemayim V'Oretz. Let me just close the door there. Every Shabbos is a foretaste of the Eibishter's tainug. What does that mean? So the 6 midas ascend. So Aliyah Sa'olamas, they ascend to the level of tainug. Simple language, it means that every Shabbos there's this reaffirmation, as it were. Creation is made to experience. You know why you exist? You know why there's a creation? With this whole universe and Ishtalshalos and all of it. What's it all for? Because of the Eibishter's chosen desire to delight in every Yid. Every Shabbos, the world plugs in to that truth. That's what it's all about. Then after Shabbos, we make Havdalah. We mentioned this. When the wine spills over from the cup into the plate below, we've got to bring that into the weekday. What is all of our work and all the things that we're doing and all the the agendas and the journeys. It needs to all be suffused. It's all for one address, one kavanah, one intent. God's chosen desire to have a relationship with me in my body, in my life, in the minutiae of my life. And Hashem wants to be part of every moment. And with that, friends, comes a deep serenity. Shabbos is a day of deep serenity, deep menuchas hanefesh, because Shabbos suffuses us with what's his whole world. What are you getting so excited and disposed and distracted? And then the whole thing is for one thing: that this world be a dira, your life be a dira. All the details of your life reflect Hashem's delight in us and us in him. So every Shabbos we get fortified with that deep truth. And that's what he means. So, Zo is ishtalshalos. What's it got to do with Eibish's tainug? Oh, on Shabbos, the midas have the aliyah, the whole ishtalshalos plugs into what it's all about. You are valuable, world, because you're the place where I'm going to reveal and do reveal and will reveal, says the Eibush, my delight in my yidale, in my yid. That's what this whole thing is, which makes you critical and very important, because you're going to, who's you, creation and every detail of it are here to express my delight, my oneness with my Yid, my Jew. That's Shabbos. Again. So now, it's answering the question. Therefore, when the midas, when ishtalshalos connects to this pnimius hakavana, to the tainuk, oh, that's what it's all about, then it becomes a keli for the tainuk. Then it becomes a keli. Then Hashem's tainuk is nimshach through chesed and through gevur and tivez. It's no longer just hishtalshalos. Now it's like it's a me'ain of the world already being the dira. The world in all of its details is expressive of Hashem's relationship with the Yid. So the midas ishtalshalos is suffused with that truth. Now it can reveal the man. Now in the Ilam Hazard, there can be a physical expression of the Eibishter's tainug in the Jew. That's what the man is. And the Jew consuming it is his delight and his oneness, longing, include, as we'll see in the end, that's the hunger. That's the hunger till Mashiach comes. The longing and the hunger of the Yid to be one with the Eibishter, to live a life of seamless truth.
Are we saying that the only way that this can happen is through halah, rather than hamshacha?
Yeah.
Through our. So
it's God.
Yeah.
God. Well, God does this. He lifts us. And on Shabbos takes us into his embrace. Hashem takes us there and hugs us and holds us close, so that we feel, and ishtalshalos, it starts with Atzilus, whole ishtalshalos, that what? That it's all about my child, it's all about and for you, and my desire to be connected to you. And that's all, this whole process, this whole creation, all the whole ishtalshalos, all the midas. So now the midas, suffused, connected to the pnimius hakavana, can reveal and do reveal the pnimius hakavana, the tainug, the man. Let's see it in the words of the Maimon. It's somewhat Kabbalistic and geographical and technical, but with God's help, what I'm saying is what the Maimon is saying. So let's see inside. He said, he just finished saying that Ishtalshel itself cannot be the keli for tainug. It's all a means for an end. It's all the process of creation. Again, the analogy is working for a living. There's no tainug there. So how does it happen? How can there be tainug there? However, that's when the Amidas of Atzilus, which are the 7 days of creation, this is the bedrock of creation, the creative force, is sent to the level of Bina, and Bina is connected to Tainug. Vachali, as explained elsewhere at length, Vachali Bina, the Atik, to the Ali is not just Bina of Atzilus, but Bina of Atik, and Bina is the center. Chochma Bina Dasha Kalelis Kola Gimel Reish Atik. Bina connects to Chochma and to Das of Atik, and that's where everything is sent. Again, our McGill student, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? So Shabbos is the day when all of Hashem lifts all of creation, that all of creation should know that you are here to express my chosen delight and pleasure in a Yid, allowing me into his life. Shabbos is a taste of that. So when creation is privy to this truth, then the work is not just a work, a means for an end. When the work is suffused with consciously, what is this all about? It's all about Hashem's desire, his delight in a Yid. It goes actually further, because okay, that's enough. Fine, we'll leave it at that. If this conscious, let's put it in these words. If a person, when he's working, he doesn't lose sight of, and he thinks about what, at the end of the day, what's going to be, it's going to be his wife and family, and there's going to be Shabbos. So he already has this tainug already in his work. If it's suffused with that, when it comes an end in itself, then it's an end in itself. But when it's suffused with what is it all for, this all leads to, and it's all party to and integral to, the tainug, the pleasure I will have on Shabbos, quite literally, with family, community, and so on. Then the work, whistle while we work, the work gets an element of this tainug. The work becomes a keli for the tainug. The tainug is expressed already in the work. You look in the Jew's eyes when he's working, you see Shabbos. You see already now Shabbos. So that's what it's all for. So already now there's this tainug. The work itself, the 6 days, can therefore carry the tainug. Why? Because on Shabbos we plugged into, hey, that's what it's all for. So we bring that truth, that experience into our engagements, our work, with all the details of our life. Since on Shabbos is Aliyas Ha'ilimus, Aliyas Hamidas, he says in Bina, and not just Bina Vatzilis, but Bina of Atik, and that includes the Gimel. So there's, to get the geography straight, the language. So therefore, they can then receive Mipchinas Pnimiyas Oinaka Eliyah, because there's the Aliyah into Tainug. Now the Midas is suffused with the Kavanah Pnimiyas, with the whole intent and purpose of it all. And that explains why we said earlier, the Gemara says, he blessed the 7th day. What did he bless it with? Man. What? It's the one day man doesn't fall. Now I have the answer. Because the pnimius of the man is always a Shabbosdika thing. It's tainug. That's what it is. And Shabbos is the day when all of creation ascends to experience and touch Hashem's delight and pleasure in every moment that we allow Hashem in our lives. That's what Ishtalshus is experiencing. So that's why the Ikam Shachi is on Shabbos. In the if we're not going to elevate the world to touch this, and we're going to just leave creation, as it were, locked in creation, locked in the oil, in the light, in the agenda, in the pursuit, then the Pnimis HaTainug cannot be revealed there. Pnimis HaTainug cannot be revealed in Ishtalshalos, because Ishtalshalos is not the end all per se whatsoever. Hashem doesn't care about Ishtalshalos per se. It's all it means for an end. So during the week, which is Ishtalshalos, no Tainug, can only be on Shabbos when Ishtalshalos is lifted to the source of it all, to experience the Nisava Kadosh Baruch, God's chosen desire. Again, in the words of the Maimon, it's already. The weekday per se cannot experience this. Weekday is ishtalshalos, weekday is agenda, weekday is about pursuits, is about means for an end, and that's Tainug is not a means for an end. Barak, so when can the Midas experience this? When it's lifted by Aliyas HaMidas b'Yom Shabbos, when the Midas HaEla, God brings all of creation in, as it were, to the deep secret. You know why you exist? Because I delight in my Yid. And I want to delight in him in the physical world of which you are part of and integral to create, the 6 days, 6 Midas, etc. So therefore, concluded the sentence here. Then they get this Atzmi, he means here. We'll continue, Be'ez Hashem, tomorrow.